sight and social issues. What you see is what you believe. All right, so before we really kind of can get into the topic of perception, perception is a very, very broad topic, so it needs to be narrowed down before anything can really be done with it. So, according to English philosopher R.J. Hurst, perception is the discovery by means of the senses of the existence and properties of the external world. So now that we have a general description of perception, we're able to kind of narrow down the topic a little bit more, but it's still not quite there to where it needs to be. So, some constituents need to be added in order for us to get a topic of research and therefore a claim. So, with Hurst's description in mind, a constituent that social issues fall under the scope of properties of the external world can also be applied that allows the topic of perception to really be narrowed down into something that's usable. So with this constituent and the description, the research question of which sense has the greatest influence on human perception of major social issues can be formulated. And when this research question is applied to both general research and the stimulus package, such as Lewis Carroll's work Through the Looking Glass or Stimulus Source A, you can begin to formulate a claim. And from the research I made, I found that sight is the most influential sense in terms of perception of social issues. So the connection between Hurst's description and Carroll's work is that Hurst states later on in the Encyclopedia of Philosophy, which is what he wrote his original description in, is that sight is variable in quality and accuracy. We may fail to notice something, we may fail to see clearly. This limitation is demonstrated in Carroll's work. For example, when Alice is looking into the looking glass house, she's seeing illusions. She's seeing things that almost like an ideal world for her. This is one of those things. She's perceiving them because she's seeing them, per se. Now, right here, this is one of the illustrations from the actual book, Through the Looking Glass. This is one of the illusions that Alice is seeing. These two figures are clearly not real. And so that just goes to show it's sight's influence. So even by this limitation, Carroll's work and Hurst go hand in hand to show the prevalence that sight has on perception. Humans are perceiving objects that aren't really present physically due to visual tricks, illusions, and such. And so now the question is, how can this limitation be applied to things like social issues? So here's the relation, sight and social issues. So sociologist Mike Males notes a correlation between seeing media stimulus and forming viewpoints on prevalent social issues. So here Males states, adults whose impressions derived from media images and quotable authorities were 6 to 10 times more likely to rate schools as imperiled by gangs, violence, and drugs than were the teachers and students inhabiting those schools. So right here, this is one of the media images or quotable authorities that can be found. This one comes from the CDC, as you can see down here. So pretty much this is showing the percentage of high school students who have been threatened or injured with a weapon on school property. So as you can see, 7.7% of males, 6.1% of females, 6.9% total. So what this means is that despite Males' former findings, all of these people are seeing these various things, and they're formulating the idea that violence in schools is a very real issue. However, 91% of students and 92% of teachers he interviewed rated their schools as safe, and only 14% of students had ever been in a fight at school, and 1% had ever been in a fight involving a weapon. So here, the influence is obvious. People's views on school violence were changed due to what they had seen in the media. And so pretty much, it's obvious with what conclusion can be made here. Like, even with sight's limitations, it's not always accurate. That's true. But the fact that people are taking this limitation, that it isn't accurate, and they're formulating ideas based off of it, and that they're, developing their own viewpoints, just goes to show how influential it is on perceiving the world around us and the social issues that plague it. And really, it's important when looking at ideas like this that, not only are you using your head, that you're using your eyes. And that's all I got.
Okay, one question for you, Zach. How did you handle the differing perspectives in order to reach a conclusion?
So really, the differing perspectives at first, they were really it was hard to find any real relation with each other between them, and so it was really important that I had to find like a common ground. And a lot of the common ground they said that they had was that sight had the limitations, just how Hurst described it. It was limited, but at the same time, that limitation wasn't impeding on its ability to influence the things. And so once that common ground was found, and could be applied to all of the other perspectives that I had, it was a lot easier to kind of connect them and make sure that everything was clear in terms of the conclusion I was making.